Hi guys, welcome back. Matt from MrLeica.com. Sorry for my absence and the lack of videos in the last kind of week or so. It didn't quite go to plan. If you're interested, I will explain at the end of this video, but let's look at what we're looking at today, and that is what is my favourite camera of 2020. And by that I mean, what camera did I buy in 2020 and it's kind of surpassed all expectations. I'll probably include it in the title, so it may not be a surprise, but assuming you haven't read the title, I guess first I should say, any guesses? If you follow my work on social media, things like that, I'll cut to the point. It is, of course, the amazing Leica iif. This is actually a Leica iif red dial. It's obviously a Leica Barnack camera for those of you that have followed this channel and seen kind of previous videos. It looks very similar to kind of most other Barnack cameras in that regard. I guess to quickly give you some information on this camera, a Leica iif is a slightly stripped down version of the popular Leica 3F. By stripped down, it doesn't have the slow shutter speed dial on the front, if you can see that, meaning your slowest shutter speed is now only 1/25. And then of course you have bulb mode as well. And also some of the Leica 3F cameras have the self timer on the front. This of course doesn't have the self timer either. These cameras were built from around 1951 to 1956, and they're of course screw mount cameras, the same as all the other Barnack cameras. Here fitted with the amazing Leica iif 50mm or 5cm f3.5. If you didn't see the video on that, see, I think it's my previous video for this lens. This lens on this camera has to be one of my favourite kind of setups for kind of the ultimate pocket camera, as I'm sure you've seen in some of my other videos. Super small and it's just amazing. So with this being my favourite camera and kind of the last video of 2020, rather than go through all the spec, I'll try and look at it in terms of pros and cons to make it slightly different. So why do I love the Leica iif? In no particular order. I love the weight. It weighs just over 400 grams, about 406 grams I believe, making it lighter than most other Leica 3 cameras, excluding say the Leica 1F, Leica 1C. The benefits of this camera over the Leica 1C, which again I featured in a previous video, is the Leica 1C is like the ultimate stripped back version. If you want a camera with a rangefinder and a viewfinder, then this is probably a better compromise between more buttons, more features with a Leica 3F for example, and very few buttons and very few features of the Leica 1F or 1C for example. So it's kind of a halfway house between the two. I tend to come at cameras from a very kind of practical viewpoint, and if I'm thinking, right, I'm going to be traveling and I'll perhaps use this with say one wide lens, I have one here as I'm fresh back from my trip, such as the 25mm Canon lens. I would use this camera with wide lenses and it's absolutely perfect. You just put your wide angle viewfinder on the top. Or I also want to use it for walkabout with the smallest lens I own, almost compact, which is the 50mm Elmore, as I mentioned. Because this has a 50mm viewfinder and a rangefinder, this is better than the Leica 1C because I can compose in camera without needing a separate hot shoe viewfinder, and it also has the rangefinder, meaning I can actually focus at say wide open at f3.5. So if I'm going to be shooting wides and 50s, I would take this. If I'm going to shoot only wides, then I could take the Leica 1F or the Leica 1C for example. So when I was in Poland, the reason I've been absent from making videos, I was in Poland with this camera. I'll cover that a bit more at the end of the video. So lightweight, compact, it's one of the smallest Leica cameras you can buy. Affordable, it's kind of, everything's relative to what you're used to, but in terms of Leica cameras and Leica M cameras, it's extremely affordable. You can pick one of these up for around £250, maybe closer to 200 for kind of a slightly more battered one, or maybe closer to 300 for like a near mint one. I think I paid around 250 for a really clean Leica iif, as I say, red dial, which is slightly more desirable. Another thing I love of the Barnack Leicas, I think they're absolutely beautifully made. If you're used to using like M cameras, you might think, oh, Leica M camera is really beautiful, but I'd highly suggest you maybe try to check out a Leica 3 Barnack, because if kind of M cameras are here in terms of beautiful, or say a Leica M6 might be here, Leica M4P, something like that, Leica M3, Leica M2, with the Leica M3 slightly above in terms of nicer build here. And then I'd say this is slightly on a par, slightly above a Leica M3. Obviously you have the nice ratchet film advance with a Leica M3, and this one you have the knob, but it's up there with the best of the best in terms of the Leicas, in terms of build quality. I absolutely love these cameras. So in terms of other pros of this camera, as I say, 50mm built-in viewfinder. It has a rangefinder which is better than a Leica M6. And that's no exaggeration, it is actually better than a Leica M6. I obviously own a Leica M6, so I'm not being like biased because I'm an anti-Leica M6 person. I'm just pointing that out because Leica M6s are extremely popular, and so the price reflects that. You could get, if you can find these at £200, for example, say £210, you could get 10 of these or one Leica M6. I use this more than my Leica M6, so one versus one, I still use this more. Obviously the Leica M6 has a light meter, so this doesn't have a light meter. I guess I'll cover that in a second. But such an amazing camera. So rangefinder that's more magnified than all the M cameras except the M3. That's why the M3 is still king. Built-in diopter, which is better than a Leica M3 because no Leica M camera has a built-in diopter. And like, I have no idea why they dropped that feature from the M cameras. Obviously it saves money and it's one less kind of engineering thing they've got to work out, but it's such an amazing feature on the older cameras. Why would you drop it from the modern cameras, more modern cameras? It's kind of beyond me. Amazing feature. So for me, with not 20/20 vision, as mentioned in previous videos, diopter plus amazing rangefinder with kind of clear, accurate rangefinder patch. Compare that to say some non-Leica rangefinder cameras where the patches are absolute rubbish, for fill in whatever word you want in the blank. The Nikon rangefinder, the older kind of Nikon rangefinder cameras, the Contax rangefinder cameras, those patches are nowhere near as good as Leicas, and I do own both. It's not just me being biased on pro Leica. I wanted to like the other cameras, but they just aren't up to the same level as this. So I just use what is best in terms of being able to accurately focus and take your picture. What else? So 50mm viewfinder, there's no kind of frame line as such, but it gives you a 50mm field of view. And if I've not already measured it, a maximum shutter speed of 1/1000, which can be quite useful on a brighter day. Other than that, the features are pretty much the same as other Barnack Leicas, so I won't kind of bore you with every single feature. Okay, the biggest drawbacks of this camera. Number one, the viewfinder is not parallax corrected, meaning if you focus close to your subject, like I nearly always do for portraits, the photo may look like it's here and it might be here, for example. One way I'm trying to get around that is using an external viewfinder. So some of the viewfinders you can pick up have a dotted line. They'll have like a square and then a dotted line showing you where to focus if you're in close to your subject. So I've been using, if I've been doing portraits at say 1 meter, I've been using the hot shoe viewfinder. So my kind of setup that I was using in Poland, I won't bother attaching it, but the Canon 50mm 1.4 on the Leica iif with the viewfinder to hopefully get accurate compositions in close for portraits shot at f1.4 or f2. Review of this lens to still come in 2021, so feel free to subscribe if you want to catch that video next year. And then common drawbacks with all Barnack Leicas, they are slow to load. You get used to it, and it's not so much the slowness in terms of putting the film in, it's the fact that you need to cut your 35mm film to put the film into the camera. If you don't know what I'm talking about, see some of my previous videos or how to load film into a Barnack camera. The fact that you need to cut your film in most circumstances, I've tried doing it without, and it's a bit hit and miss, so generally speaking I'm still cutting film to load the camera. Patreon, do you know what I'm talking about, because I've been posting extra videos talking about these things. And I guess it's obvious, but maybe worth mentioning, if you're a 35mm shooter, this might not be the best camera for you because you'll have to use a hot shoe viewfinder, which means you lose the beautiful compactness of the camera. I think if I was planning to shoot 35mm, I'd probably use my Voigtlander Bessa R You can see that video, I've done that video before. If I wanted to keep things all Leica, I tend to use my Leica M2 to shoot 35mm if I'm using no flash, and I tend to use a Leica M4P or Leica M6 if I use with flash, because these have hot shoes. The Leica M2 has a cold shoe, meaning you can't use speed lights or kind of off-camera flash, things like that. And maybe for completeness, this obviously has no light meter. It doesn't require a battery, which is obviously a plus, but no light meter, and it's a cold shoe, not a hot shoe, being an old camera. But you do have the PC sync port on the back. And I guess one more negative, if I'm trying to be fair and come at it from everybody's kind of viewpoints, it's a two-step process with the Barnack Leica. You're going from, you look through you look through the left window, kind of this side, to focus, and then the next window to compose. Because it's a two-step process, meaning if you're not careful and you're using, say, a fast 51.4 lens, if you kind of not thinking about what you're doing, you might focus, then kind of move the camera a bit, and then go to compose. And if you've moved the distance of your camera, there's a chance you could miss focus. Whereas with a Leica M camera, you compose and focus in the same window, which is the biggest benefit of the M camera system over the Barnack cameras, in my view. There's a few benefits of M cameras: more frame lines, faster loading, light meter in some of them. But I still tend to pick up the Barnacks before I pick up an M camera, so take that for what you want. Right, I'm trying to keep this video short for you, so let's look at a few photos. So these are example photos. Firstly, landscape type photos, walking and running around with this camera. Again, this is my go-to camera for kind of walkabouts because it is so small. And then next, here are some portraits shot with the Leica iif. So there's some example photos from 2020. I do have more example photos to come from 2020 because I've just come back from a trip. So that's it for talking about the Leica iif. So, and then for any of you who are regular viewers, again, big apologies for my absence in the last kind of week or so. I had it all planned, I had all the videos planned. I was hoping to release 3 videos a week all through December, and then it didn't quite go to plan. So my apologies. I guess to recap, if you've not seen it in other kind of social media, I went to Poland and then I couldn't get back because I flew out just before they closed the doors on the UK because of the new latest COVID problems. Got to Poland. Poland was then cancelling all the flights to the UK because they didn't want to receive the infection from the UK, kind of the latest variant, whatever you want to call it. So then I was like, oh dear. And so the start of the trip kind of all went as normal, lots of model shoots, all those photos to come. And then I tried to come home and my flight was cancelled. And then I booked another flight, that was cancelled. So I was moving between cities, trying to get flights from these cities, desperately trying to get back before the 31st, which is today, to meet the Brexit cut-off. So there's a chance I was going to be stuck in Poland until the 17th of January. So I was like, this isn't very good. So blah, 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 cut it all short, got back from Poland yesterday. And then in terms of more photos coming from this camera, if you have any interest in how I like my portraits, how I travel with my cameras, what cameras I'm using with kind of behind the scenes stuff, seeing models behind the scenes, editing, all that kind of stuff, more stuff about me running with these cameras, how I pick my hotels, how I set up the apartments used for photo shoots. I'd say if you've ever been tempted to see more on anything that I just mentioned, now's your chance, because I've just come back from Poland and I recorded maybe 10 videos, which you'll only see on Patreon. I've posted a few already and there's a lot more to come. I've also just had the first order of the photo books come. They're like a 40-page zine of black and white female model portraits. They're now available for Patreon also, or patrons. I'll do a post hopefully for that either today or tomorrow. The video's done, I just need to share it and then you can place your orders. So if you ever wanted to try Patreon, now's your chance, because you basically pay and then you'll get a month, and If you then see all you want to see within a month, you can of course cancel it. There's no obligation. There's I think 150 maybe posts on there already. Some of them are kind of reshares of say YouTube videos which are being posted. So say if you take off 50, that might be 100 exclusive posts which you've never seen. And just in terms of coming back from Poland, there's a lot of stuff, if you enjoy me rambling like this, where you can pick up little pieces of hopefully useful information. You might find it beneficial just to sign up for a month, and then if you think I talk rubbish, you probably wouldn't still be listening at this point. But if you do, you can, as I say, you can cancel it. It's £3 a month plus VAT if you live in the UK. I'm not sure that works out in euros and dollars. But you can binge watch and then cancel it if you don't like it. But I am posting all the time, every day if I could, but maybe 5 times a week on a good week. Sometimes more, sometimes less. But there's a ton of new videos to come because, as I say, I've just come back from a trip. That's all to come. But I'll leave it there. Thanks so much for watching. If you are still watching and you would like to comment on your favourite camera of 2020, feel free to let me know in the comments. There are obviously lots of amazing cameras out there, and this just happens to be the one that suits kind of my thing, my kind of travelling light and all that stuff. If you've not yet subscribed, feel free to subscribe. And again, a huge thanks to all the existing patrons. Lots of good stuff to come, so hopefully you'll enjoy it. I tried to record as many videos for you guys as I could in Poland to give you as much content as possible. So excited to share that. That's it. Sorry for the ramble. Happy New Year to everybody, and a massive thanks to everyone that's kind of subscribed in 2020. I never expected the channel to take off quite as well as it has. I'm not a natural presenter, as you probably know. And yeah, I really appreciate the support. Aiming for bigger and better in 2021, so let's get on it. Thanks for watching. Bye.